It is time to fire up another edition of Yankees Baseball Daily. Bob Lorenz with you as we get set to touch them all. The latest news, rumors, trades, etc. And joining me to do that, Willie Randolph, Jack Curry, and from the New York Times, Tyler Kepner. Friday the 13th. Frightening to some, horrifying to others. But for Yankees fans, it was a very good day. And for Brian Cashman, a very good day at the office. As last week he gets Hiroki Kuroda to agree to terms on a one-year deal and then works a trade just prior to that with Seattle for Michael Pineda. Now, I want to remind all Yankees fans that all of these deals are contingent. They won't be officially official until all players have passed their physicals. But having said that, Jack, filing the disclaimer, it was a very good day for the Yankees.
Right, it was a busy, a crazy Friday, and Bob, you've mentioned how this all came together so quickly, but in talking to some Yankee officials, the officials who are on the inside, they talked about how nerve-wracking all of this was because they were the ones doing the work leading up to this, and there were sleepless nights involved. You're trying to make a deal for a guy like Pineda, and then you're trying to give up Montero. There's a lot of back and forth. The Kuroda deal, of course, another signing there. We see what the trade involved, Noesi going, Campos, a 19-year-old minor leaguer coming. But, Bob, in one night when you're able to upgrade your rotation the way that the Yankees did, changing it by 40% with Pineda and Kuroda, I think Brian Cashman did a terrific job.
All right, so we're taking a look at what Kuroda did for the Dodgers last year, 13-16, ERA just north of 3. And we're going to break him down in just a minute, but I want to start with Pineda for Montero because Montero, Willie Bonneau, was that prize prospect. You saw him hit at the end of last year and were wowed by his bat, at least in that series against the Orioles. But you get a nice big arm back.
Oh, yes. And I told you guys Brian was laying in the weeds. I knew he was, okay? And he got an unbelievable young pitcher. But this kid has outstanding stuff. I can't believe Seattle gave him up. I mean, this kid was outstanding when I saw him. Great fastball. Outstanding slider. His slider's unique, guys, because it kind of almost falls out of, like right there, that falls out of the zone. Usually a slider's a little flatter than that. It almost acts like a split almost when you look at it. But outstanding stuff. Has to work on his changeup, obviously, to offset some of the other stuff. But this kid's a horse. Look at him. He's a monster, and I'd say the Yankee fans are going to love watching this kid pitch.
Right, I had a chance to do a feature on him for the New York Times in May, well, he actually against Baltimore, and he was rolling on his way to an all-star first half. And you know, he is the kind of guy. He's huge, as we see, 6'7", but he grew up in Dominican idolizing Pedro Martinez, and he said that this is the kind of guy who he wants to be, and he showed that in the way he pitched. He goes right at guys, a big percentage of first pitch strikes, a lot of fastballs, and he learned that growing up while watching Pedro.
And you know, Willie brings up a great point, though. How is a pitcher like this even available? 22 to 23 years old. He'll pitch at 23 this season. The fastball, the slider. It is a great slider, Willie, but I think you would agree. The one thing he has to do, he needs to develop that changeup. He needs to develop that third pitch because last year it was all fastball slider. I mean, look at that right there. More than 90% of his pitches were either a fastball or a slider. Hitters are going to recognize at some point, as good as that slider is, you've got to give them one other thing to look at. And I think as he moves up to become an even more elite pitcher, if he can get that changeup,
oh, yeah, that's what you're say. If he develops that changeup, it's going to be almost unhittable. I mean, this guy really has great stuff, and he kind of is a little bit violent with his delivery, so he gives you a lot of arms and elbows, but when the ball gets on you quick like that, it's tough to react to.
Is the 2 pitches, Tyler, versus 3, maybe the reason he had a second-half tail-off last year?
Yeah, from the people I talked to, that was one reason. You know, the other reason was just the innings, you know, bumping up his innings as much as he did. They were aware of that early in the season. This kid's an all-star, but he's probably going to have some kind of a drop-off in the second half. But even so, I mean, you look at what he was able to do last year, the strikeouts per 9 innings. He had 9.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. It was 7th in the league. 4 of the 6 guys above him were Cy Young winners. Clayton Kershaw, Tim Lincecum, Cliff Lee, Zach Greinke. That's the kind of company he keeps. And it's, you know, you got to be pretty special to strike out that many guys. If he learns to change up, he's going to be that much more effective.
We've heard a lot about innings with the Yankees over the years with the Phil Hugheses and the Java Chamberlains. And I do think Tyler brings up a great point about innings being an issue with him. He had never pitched more than 132 innings at the minor league level. You get to August and September, and you're maxing out against major league hitters. And all of a sudden, you're at 160, 170 innings, which is what he ended up last year. That's a big difference. And there's also a difference between facing double-A hitters, which he did in 2010, and then facing major league hitters in every start in 2011. So I would watch the Yankees to very subtly keep an eye on his innings. I don't know that you'll see this guy throw 215, 220 innings. I think they'll watch his innings this year.
And I don't want to make Jesus Montero a PS to this conversation, but Tyler, this is the one time, the one guy you had to use that chip, right?
Right, absolutely. And the Yankees are dealing from a position of depth. I mean, on their top 10 prospect list in Baseball America, they had 4 catchers on there. You know, he was the best one for sure, but, you know, you don't need 4 catchers on a team. Plus, you have Russell Martin. The chance to get a guy who's under control for 5 years and is already an all-star, 23 years old this week. I don't know how you pass that up. It just made way too much sense to turn down.
And in any deal, you have to give to get. I mean, you have to give up a top guy. You have to get a guy back in return. So, to me, it looks like a great deal for both sides. We'll see how it plays out. This kid Campos supposed to have a really good arm also. He's done the deal. And, you know, the Noesse, I mean, he's outstanding too. So, you know, it might be a great deal for both sides.
And just, again, a final thought on Noesse versus Campos. Campos is a 19-year-old power arm. They like Noesse, but, again, the trade-off is that maybe he is a Noesse or more a couple of years down the line.
Right, and Noesse right now for the Yankees, and we look at the numbers on Campos and what he did last year, Noesse was surplus. He was ahead of the Warrens and the Phelpses, but he was going to go to camp as their 6th guy. So to have to give him as part of the deal, I'm sure the Yankees didn't want to have to do that, but to get Pineda back, you absolutely do that. And I think the thing about Montero is you go forward, you wonder about his defense. Would he have been a catcher? Again, with the Yankees, I think the offense is something that they never have to worry about. And if you lined up 100 scouts, GMs, executives, and said, I'm not going to tell you the name, but you can have the elite young pitcher or the elite young hitter, I think the majority of them will say, give me the pitcher.
Go with the pitcher. Yeah.
All right, now speaking of pitching, let's talk about the deal, agreeing to terms with Hiroki Kuroda. 1-year deal. You told us about Pineda because you saw him. You saw Kuroda. What do you think?
Yeah, he pitched against us in the playoffs a few years back. Another great deal by Cashman. Here's another guy here on a 1-year deal. He's a little bit older, but has outstanding stuff. Good split finger. Fastball is live in the zone and knows how to pitch. Guy's been around a long time. So another 2 great pickups by Cashman that's really solidifies that staff and gives you a lot of depth so you can go to spring training and have those guys fight it out.